The train has left the station. Seahawks and Rams are on the board, take and go for a fight to the Super Bowl. And I'm not so certain that injury-riddled 49ers signing another veterans will get on board. Man, 49ers are in a very, very interesting situation because on one side, signing Mike Evans, probably last year of Trent Williams, if any. CMC edging the last years of his prime career. George Kittle not getting younger after popping an Achilles. Their great players are getting older, more injury prone. Fred Warner is going to come back from injury. And they would like to go and push for a Super Bowl, make it this their window because they have their franchise QB, they have a top end talent. But they have two freaking juggernauts in the same division. So how do you approach this, man? I tried. Let's find out how I did, okay? Let's dig deep into their war room. Starting at the QB position, Brock Purdy, he's your guy. There's a lot of opinions on Brock. Say he's one of the more polarizing QB guys out there in terms of some do have him ranked close to top 10. Some would probably put him out of top 20. To me, the first group is much more adequate rather than the second one. I would have him kind of right down in the middle. He's not just a system quarterback. I also wouldn't say he is the system. He definitely enhances this. He makes it work. Last year when a lot of people were out there, he was really, really freaking good. At the same time, do I necessarily think he is elevating this towards the greatest heights? Is he a top 7 guy? I don't think he is. I think he's great. I admire him for what he has been able to do with his draft status and everything. But man, a lot of pros and conversation with Mac Jones. I'm kind of feeling sorry for Mac because this was the year that he could have get a bridge QB job somewhere that could fetch him multi-year extension and becoming potentially low-end franchise guy for somebody. Because 49ers don't want to lose him and they have 1 year of control, they kind of jailed him in ways no, we need you, we want to go for a Super Bowl, we need you as a backup, you were great for us, etc., etc. But it absolutely sucks because next year's crop of quarterback prospects is really great and a lot of teams are going to be all right, this is our guys, they will invest into them, and there might not be a spot for Mike Jones next season to take this bridge quarterback opportunity that was definitely out there. For me, it's not wishing 49ers bad. It's I wish Mac Jones would get an opportunity somewhere this season. It still could happen, but it would probably need to come on the expense of pretty high draft pick, and I'm not so sure that the teams are going to be willing to do this, especially having in mind next year's draft, and obviously the teams that would take use of this. As of right now, it stands as a tier 3 need. I don't think there is necessarily anything to be said. Now, with running backs, the conversation is much more interesting. Now, CMC, I have heard a lot of people having him as potential downfall list for the season, and I do understand why, because they are overworking him so many touches. It's crazy how much he carried this offense. To me, he alleged had a good case for being offensive player of the year. And that comes from a Seahawks fan that had a bet on JSN. That there was so many, I have so many reasons to just say, JSN absolutely freaking deserved it, and he did. But CMC, I think he had a good case, man. He was freaking amazing. Yes, the down numbers were not necessarily great, but I would really compare him to Zach Allen when I talk about him with the Broncos. The sheer volume that he was able to absorb, it's special, man. It's really special. But I do understand, it can fall off. He's at that age, he's a running back, he has so many miles on his treadmill, and there is not much behind this. Isaac Guerrero, Jordan James, this is not much. So if we look at this as a approach, we are riding CMC down, which is definitely the approach I would take right now, because you can prolong his career by a couple of months if you are not doing this. And this is your year. You want to approach this as your Super Bowl year. So you are riding him down and you are not having a great backup no matter what. Like that would replace what he's doing for you, unless you are spending premium, super premium resources, which you shouldn't do. So I do treat this as a tier 3 need, because I do expect fully CMC to once again get 85% of the touches. And with that, I'm okay having Isaac Guerrero, Patrick Taylor, even Kyle Juszczyk there to just like take care of the rest, right? On other teams, I could call it a tier 1 need, right? Because you have an aging veteran who is still great, but we don't know when the wheels are going to fall off. You don't have an RB2, and you are not necessarily planning for future. Here, right now, I think it's a tier 3 need. What do you think? I would not call it wide receivers though, because even though that this room might look more figured out, because you have DeMarcus Robinson as your 4, Christian Kirk as your 3, Pearsall as your 2, and Mike Evans as your 1. But Mike Evans and that electric station, good luck. Ricky Pearsall has not so far been able to stay healthy for longer stretches of time. Christian Kirk is a veteran patch, and I like DeMarcus Robinson, but that's very unreliable room in terms of quality is fine, but it's not necessarily like superb longevity and injury proneness. Like, if you think this room is adequate going in, I don't think we are right, man. I really don't. To me, it requires tier 2 investment, not a tier 1. Like, I can see them drafting a wide receiver in round 1, but like with Mike Evans, with Christian Kirk, like they made this room acceptable, but you need another body in my ass. And this was like, well, but like, running back has even less depth. What are you talking about? Very, very, very easy to explain in my eyes. If CMC goes down, you are going at the trade market. You are looking for Tony Pollards of the world, James Connors of the world. That's what you're going to do. You are not taking running back, especially in this year's draft, where there's pretty much like 3 running backs that I would be like, okay, day 2 or better. Just like to do what? To have 15% if CMC goes down? If CMC plays? No. Or to like overcome his job? They are not better than James Conner or Tony Pollard. So like you are going to the veteran market if he goes down. That's my approach. That's, I think, what and how they view this room. I might be wrong. This is my opinion. With tight ends, again, you can make a case that perhaps there is more of a stretching need, because we don't know George Kittle's health status towards the start of the year. What I would be saying, I don't care. I think George, one, he's going to work his butt off to be back. Like, he's crazy. And B, you can get by for a couple of weeks with Jake Tanges, Luke Ferrer, and Kyle Juszczyk in the mix. I think it's fine. And with George Kittle back, again, like, you are not playing for succession right now. You are not with this room. Like, similar to CMC. They need to use this window. It's not great. They are pushing it into tight windows because Rams and Seahawks are here, and a lot of teams are looking for bounce back and looking for that crown. But with how their stars are aging out, Trent Williams contract, they are going for it. My belief. Now, speaking of Trent Williams, I think you start to look at this as a clear tier 2 investment needed. Because can he hold out, or what's going to happen? Like, obviously, if he's traded away, that this is clear tier 1. But you don't have backup. Trent has been down for a couple of weeks last season, and he's 38 or something. I understand not playing for the future, but here we are doing it very similar with wide receivers. Injury prone and future. That's why I'm differentiating between tackles, wide receivers, where I'm saying, yeah, this is a big need, to running backs and tight ends, for example, where I'm it is a need, potentially. You should plan for succession, but you are not doing this right now, because if the injury happens, you are taking a different approach. So hope you are staying with me, and my logic is perhaps not flawless, but at least sufficient enough. With Colton McRae, I think you have right tackle for next couple of seasons, so that's fine. But to me, this is about backup and securing for a Trent Williams injury, as well as having that future starting to set in. Their interior is very nice in terms of Dominic Puny. Without him, you have Jake Brendel, who is good, and Robert Jones plus Brett Todd as your another starting guard. And a lot of people will be like, man, you should probably not go into the season with this. Well, you have not seen 49ers. Like, they have gone into the season with less in terms of their interior, because they were like, all right, we have Trent, he's overshadowing this, and we have Brock Purdy, who, one of his very underrated traits for a lot of people, he actually can manage pressure and pocket very well. He is a play extender. He can make plays happen. If they are there on time, he's going to take use of them. If they don't, he is actually good at extending plays and moving in the pocket. So, can they spend the first round pick on a guard? Yes, absolutely. That's a room that needs an upgrade. At the same time, when I look at the history of 49ers and where they are in terms of the timeline, do I look at this and be like, man, they cannot go with Robert Jones as their weakest link on their offensive line? And I'm saying they can. There is a lot of talk, and that's where I would be probably mostly on board, is like, if they can get their hand on someone like Francisco Malinois, a player that could definitely start as a guard and potentially switch to tackle when Trent Williams retires or gets traded away or just leaves the 49ers, that's probably the ideal scenario. That's where it could definitely turn into premium pick. But I can also see them being like, well, we have a lot of needs. We don't necessarily need to address this with premium because we can get by. And in Trent Williams we trust, and Brock Purdy. It has fetched them good results in the past. So you can question the process, but it's the 49ers. Now, their defensive line is interesting, right? Nick Bosa, he's a stud, man. He is an absolute stud. At the same time, he's been injured much more than people necessarily talk about and want to bring it up. And with a guy with such an explosive first step, will it start to slow him down as he ages and injuries stockpiled? Definitely something to have in mind. You have Michael Williams there, who year one was kind of very hard when there was no Nick Bosa. Still big investment. You are not giving up on him. And your H3 is kind of Keon White, who a lot of people had for a breakout with Patriots. He was not even being kept there. He was moved here for I don't know, it was a 5th round pick or something. And he did not necessarily break out here. So you have injury prone top end player, Michael Williams, who had solid rookie year and kind of whatever free. I think this is dear to need. I smell problems. I do smell problems. And yeah, it just needs another body, man. And with their interior, I would argue the very same. Yes, they have tried to fix this with Alfred Collins and CJ West, but they have been bad year one. You can justify being well, the high-end guys went down. We needed to count on rookies. It was the worst we will ever see them, and we trust in their abilities. We have brought Osa Odigizua into the mix to give him the high-end presence, and we'll be fine. Then it would switch to tier 3 need. If you have this belief in there, I'm fine with that. I'm not so sure because I've seen them play very bad last season, at least in my opinion. But if that's your inner belief, and there's also Ivan Anderson who I like as a DT4, I'm fine switching this to tier 3. It really depends on how they view this room, especially bringing Osa. Does this give them high enough starting point floor that the second round players now can, be good enough for you to work it out? Fine with me. But can I really see all right, this is not working. We need another investment in here and make it a tier 2 need? I can see that as well. With the linebackers, they have brought Drake Nilo back. He's probably not here to spend next couple of years. And Fred Warner comes back from injury, but man, that's a freaking great starting duo. Probably the best one in the league because you have Fred Warner and he's just so freaking awesome. And you have several developmental pieces in Nick Martin, the Winters there. So it's fine. It's absolutely fine with the depth and the starting top end duo that you just are not spending resources here. That's why you brought Law here to like be like, okay, we have this room under cover, under control for at least this season. And some of our young guys, especially, and in the Winters, Ornick Martin could still, become the number 2 eventually. With corners, they have tried to address this, bringing Nate Hobbs into the mix and Jake Jones, which, when you consider Damon Jelenar and Ronaldo Green as your starters, and Upton Stud as a nickel, where he played actually very well last season, I think that's a good room, man. I think that's definitely a good room. So, very, very low-key, like, yeah, you are not getting premium, but you are also not spending premium. The one question is this room enough when you are facing Seahawks and the Rams? Puka, Devonta, Cooper, JSN, Rashid Shaheed. Can they stop them? And last year, the answer was no. But you can also point out where our pressure from our defensive line was not necessarily there. So, perhaps take that into consideration. And I would go, that's absolutely fair. Switching towards the safety room, I also feel like they think of this as very nicely set up with Mike Mustafa and Jair Brown. Depends on how much do still hold Derek Forrest as potentially this guy can be a starter. Probably my ship has sailed on this one. Marquis Siegel, you probably don't want either of these guys, even as a mercenary backups, but it kind of will do. So with Jair and Malik to be your starters, I think they're also fine there. Kind of a tier 3. Overall, you can make arguments for so many parts of this roster to be fine, adequate, but also to be, not necessarily health proven. And we know the 49ers history with health, whether it's the plant, the station, or overall. It's going to be very interesting to monitor them on the draft night. Trent Williams situation. Brandon Ayuk is still somehow on this roster. And where they will spend their resources. Because there is so many things and so many journeys they could take on. And I will be fascinated. Definitely one of the teams that I'm least confident about what they will do, because I took a lot of projection. If their behavior is indication of what they want to do and I'm interpreting it right, this is how I think about them. But man, can I be misreading a lot of things? So we will have to wait and see. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and couple of days and we will see you on the draft night. Bye bye till then.